Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Warmies, live from the Sports Interaction studio ahead of the Calgary Flames taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. It is an early game, as we expect. The Calgary Flames remaining on the road for Game 4 of a 5-game road swing after 2 days off in Columbus. Some of us, myself included, wondered whether this little mini break in the midst of a road trip might be an impetus for the Flames to get the trade talk flowing. And if they did, well, it hasn't resulted in any trades. The Flames look like they're going to go into today's game against Columbus with roughly the same group as they began this road trip with. But it's going to be an interesting one, and we're glad to have you along with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Once again, we are live from the Sports Interaction studio, and let's kick off today's show by having a look at the early betting lines from this one. The Flames are not the favorites, even though they did win their last game. They're at plus 118. The Blue Jackets at minus 145. Columbus, maybe they're expecting a new coach bump, as we saw over the, well, I guess not over the weekend, on Monday, yesterday. Columbus making an unexpected coaching change, maybe not unexpected with how they've been performing this season, but unexpected in terms of who they hired. Dean Evason is out, and Rick Bowness is back in the NHL with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Bowness is 70 years old. He immediately becomes the NHL's oldest head coach. He has been around the block. To say he's been around the block is a bit of an understatement. The Blue Jackets are in last place in the Eastern Conference with a 19-19-7 record. They are 5-4-1 in their last 10. And they made that change. So Rick Bowness is in for Columbus. Maybe they're expecting that to be a bit of a new coach bump. And we see as well a pre-built same-game parlay from the folks over at Sports Interaction. We have 2 assists for Zach Werenski and the Blue Jackets winning. That is a prefabbed parlay for the Columbus Blue Jackets for this game between the Flames and Columbus at Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. So something to think about as we head into this evening's contest. Some early lines there brought to you by the good folks over at Sports Interaction. Visit sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. Every game is your game when you bet with them. Get into the action with their parlay boosts, live betting, and easy deposits and payouts. One more time, that is sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. 19 plus, please play responsibly. It's an interesting one. Obviously, there's always emotion when the Flames and the Blue Jackets play each other. These two teams are going to be linked for a long, long time with the whole Johnny Gaudreau stuff and the whole Sean Monahan stuff with those two players, just being inextricably linked themselves. And then, of course, linked together by tragedy, as we saw a couple of summers ago. This is an interesting game, though, for on-ice reasons as well. And the warm-ups are beginning in Columbus. I'm very curious to see, with all the smoke that's been coming around Rasmus Andersson in the last few days, if he is playing tonight. And we don't know. We'll see, I suppose, now here with the warm-ups beginning. We are keeping an eye on the things as they happen. There was lots of news that came out today down the pipe around the Calgary Flames for a variety of reasons. We're not seeing Marty Pospisil in the NHL just yet, but we are seeing him with the American Hockey League's Calgary Wranglers now moving forward, assigned to them on an LTI conditioning stint. We're also seeing Blake Coleman move to the injured reserve list, which is not a good sign for a player who is reportedly coveted by more than half the league. Coleman, of course, sustained an injury a couple of games ago. He did not play against the Penguins, and now he's on IR. Hopefully just a small spell for Coleman on that list, but it kind of underscores the importance of the Flames moving quickly on some of these guys, lest they wait for them, to gain value and they run the risk of them getting hurt. And it's tough, especially with Rasmus Andersson playing at the Olympics. We saw Elliot Friedman come out earlier today and say that he believes that both sides in the Rasmus Andersson situation want to see this resolved before the Olympics. I believe it. I don't know if we'll see it happen. We've made the point on previous shows that the Flames are historically reluctant to make deals on the road. They have not done it in significant fashion in 6 years. They didn't move any, of their rentals from 2024 when they were on the road. They made all those moves at home. So the Flames are back home on the 15th in the evening. They go play Chicago. That night they come home, and then they have a stretch of 5 straight games at the Saddledome. And I wonder if that's the stretch in which we start to see things really move for the Calgary Flames and really move on some of these players. Although Coleman, of course, being on IR now really complicates things. And making that point, let's have a look now at the lines for the Calgary Flames in today's game. What we're expecting to see, we will sort of see whether there are any changes that come up as the warm-ups begin. But courtesy of Daily Faceoff, as it stands, we're going to sort of see what we saw for most of last game, which was a top 6 of Kadri, Huberdeau, Farabee, Backlund, Sharangovich, and Coronado, with Morgan Frost, Zary, and Adam Klapka on line 3, and William Stromgren staying in the lineup with Justin Kirkland and Ryan Lomberg. We shall see if there are any changes that come out here any minute now as the two teams are on the ice at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. On the defensive side, we're having a look at, again, pretty familiar looks. It remains to be seen if Braden Bahal will remain in the lineup for the Calgary Flames. Had that big hit against the Penguins the other night. Joel Hanley will be the left side defenseman on that pair, whether it's Bahal or Brustevich. And then the other two pairings we expect to remain the same. It was Devin Cooley in net for that big win for the Flames a couple of nights ago in Pittsburgh. Tonight, it will be Dustin Wolf, who we saw for a long stretch of time before Cooley got back in the net in that game in Pittsburgh. It's back to Wolf for today. And, of course, we all know what Dustin Wolf can do between the pipes for the Calgary Flames. Well, we're on the goaltending side. We expect for Columbus, it will be Jet Greaves between the pipes. Greaves is an undrafted player who's having a great season with Columbus. He's appeared in 31 games, really establishing himself as their starter over Elvis Merzlikins. He's got a 13, 12, and 6 record with a .908 save percentage, does the 24-year-old Jet Greaves. So a good goaltending matchup tonight between a couple of guys who maybe aren't that big. You know, the big reason that Greaves went undrafted in the first place from Barrie Colts is that he's 6 foot even and 188 pounds, but he's got some skill. And so it's going to be a good goaltending matchup today, I think, as we head into it. Let's look at Columbus's lineup, because there's a reason why they made this coaching change. A lot of guys in this Columbus team just aren't performing, aren't living up to expectations. As we look at the forward group for Columbus, obviously we know Sean Monahan, we know what he can do, but he's not having as good a season as he did last year, which was really a big comeback year for Monahan. He had 57 points in 54 games last season with the Blue Jackets. This year, he's only got 22 points in 41 games with Columbus, but he will be the number 2 center for the Blue Jackets today. Bit of a new look top line for this Blue Jackets team. Adam Fantilli with Kirill Marchenko and Cole Sillinger. Marchenko really one of only a handful of guys on this Blue Jackets team, living up to their billing. Sillinger on the top line is a bit of a different look. He's only got 5 goals in 44 games this year. It had been Dmitry Voronkov for a longer period of time. He's had a good year for Columbus. He's got 16 goals, but now he's on the third line with Charlie Coyle and Matthew Olivier. And the fourth line, recent trade acquisition, Danton Heinen, who came over from Pittsburgh in the Yegor Chinnikov trade. He's on the fourth line with Brendan Gaunce and Mikhail, I think it's Pythia, I want to say. I probably said that wrong. Pardon me. But in any event, crazy to see Brendan Gaunce still hanging on to an NHL job more than 10 years after the Vancouver Canucks drafted him in the first round of the 2012 draft, number 26 overall. We've seen Gaunce appear in 210 NHL games over his career with the Canucks, Blue Jackets, Bruins, and Minnesota Wild. So there's a look at the Blue Jackets forward group, which is, again, a bit of a mishmash of players from all walks of the NHL. And then looking at the defensive group for Columbus, obviously Zach Werenski is the top gun in Columbus. He's got 47 points in 41 games this year. He is tied with Marchenko and Voronkov at the team lead with 16 goals apiece. He's playing with Dante Fabro on the top pair. Fabro's been solid for Columbus since getting there last season. Ivan Provorov with Damon Severson on P2. And recent signing, Igor Zamula, coming over from the Philadelphia Flyers. Zamula playing on the third pair with Jake Christensen for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So there's a look at Columbus. A lot of guys, though, who started the season with Columbus are not playing tonight. Miles Wood is hurt. Mason Marchment was traded, he was acquired, but he's hurt as well. Acquired from the Seattle Kraken earlier this season. Of course, Chinnikov, who we mentioned, was traded to Pittsburgh in that deal that brought Danton Heinen to Columbus. And then the likes of Brendan Smith and Isaac Lundestrom are hurt. So it's a bit of a different look for the Blue Jackets than we've been accustomed to at certain points in this season. And as we mentioned, it'll be Greaves versus Wolf, the goaltending matchup for tonight's game. I'm glad to have some folks along with us in the chat. I like the comment from Anything is Pospisil saying, give the backup goalie his own show and call it the Coolies. Well done, sir. I enjoyed that one immensely. Yeah, I mean, it's and I like the nod to Pospisil and your username. I mean, I'm very excited to see Marty Pospisil back in action with the American Hockey League's Calgary Wranglers. A bit more clarity on the whole conditioning stint thing with the American Hockey League. With Marty Pospisil, it's a bit different than maybe we've seen some other instances before. He was on injured reserve to start the year, and now he's being converted over to long-term injured reserve, which, takes takes player off the roster. You don't need a roster spot for it. And most teams use LTIR to sort of be able to exceed the cap. And the Flames aren't really in a situation where they need to do that. They have a lot of cap space. So they haven't needed to have Pospisil on LTIR. But now putting him on LTIR opens up the mechanism by which they are putting him down in the American League and giving him, about a week to be able to sort of see if he is ready for game action again. This is dictated by Article 13.9 of the CBA. He could be down there for 3 games or 6 days, and then the stint can be extended by 2 games if the commissioner approves it. So sort of a different look. Marty Pospisil will, again, return to action expected soon for the Calgary Wranglers. And if all goes well, he will play for Team Slovakia at the upcoming Winter Olympics in Milan. So good stuff there for Marty Pospisil. Good guy. Always been a fan. Glad to see him getting back closer to game action for the Calgary Flames. Blake Coleman, yes, as we mentioned, not in the lineup for the Calgary Flames today. He will be eligible to return, I believe, once the Flames get back home. So he'll miss the last couple games of this road trip, and then we will see what happens there. Some news from Derek Wills, and it's not news at all, except for the fact that it will be Braden Hall remaining in the lineup for the Calgary Flames on the third pairing today. So that means that Hunter Brzustevich will sit out. Rasmus Andersson does remain in the lineup for the Calgary Flames, so not being held out for any trade-related reasons. Aside from that, the top 6 remains the same. You have Farabee with Huberdeau and Kadri, Sharon Govich with Backlund and Coronado, Zary Frost-Klapka, and Lomberg with Kirkland and William Stromgren. I've liked William Stromgren in the games that he's played with the Calgary Flames since he came up. He hasn't played very much. He's already drawn a couple of penalties. He skates well. He handles the puck well. But yeah, he hasn't played very much. 804 in his first game, 727 in the last game. I'd like to see a little bit more. I think he is starting to earn his stripes a little bit. Really good development for a guy who, in my opinion, when he first came over to North America, looked a little bit lost with the Wranglers. Took a long time to really get up to speed there. But once he did, he was really strong. And I think he's performed quite well. There's a lot to talk right now about prospects, because not just because there are guys in the Flames system who are performing to a certain level, but also because of guys who the Flames are purportedly targeting and guys who fans want them to target. I mean, the amount of chatter right now about Nate Danielson as a player who the Flames might be after, or Leon Bichelle in Dallas, and potential Rasmus Andersson deals. The Flames have done very well in mining the deeper parts of the draft for these second-tier prospects. And for guys who can play in the middle of your lineup, guys who can play on P2 or line 2 or line 3. And if they had those foundational players, they would be really well equipped to be able to turn this thing around quickly. So whether the Flames are able to get up to the top of the draft this year and get that foundational player, if one is even available this year, we shall see, because that's really the missing piece. The Flames have so much at other positions. So it's exciting stuff. As far as the Rasmus stuff is concerned, everybody's talking about Rasmus Andersson again, because everybody is sort of the opinion, and I share this opinion, that it makes sense for this to happen before the Olympics. And I keep people keep saying Vegas. People keep telling me Vegas. And it's not like I'm Elliot Friedman. I don't pretend to be, but people keep telling me Vegas really, really wants this guy. People really think Vegas wants this guy. And there are pieces that Vegas has. They don't have maybe the pieces that Detroit has. I do think they have pieces that Dallas, similar pieces to what Dallas has. I think Dallas almost gets overrated a bit as far as the pieces they have. I don't think Maverick Bourque really moves the needle for the Calgary Flames. I don't think Liam Bichelle really moves the needle that much for the Calgary Flames. They have picks, but so does Vegas. I mean, you could get their 27 first, and you can maybe get a couple seconds if the situation called for it. A name that was given to me by somebody who is connected and who I looked into a little bit is Caden Korzak with the Vegas Golden Knights, just as another young right-handed defenseman from Western Canada with decent pedigree who is done well in the early half of this season and is cost controlled for the next 4 or 5 years. 24 years old and as a piece in an Andersson deal. The one thing that I wonder about with the Calgary Flames as you move forward is they have a number of good defensemen. The thing that I don't know about is that they have a lot of imbalance as far as left side to right side. All their big, heavy guys are on the left, and all their smaller puck movers are on the right. And so you've got Kevin Ball and you've got Ian Kuznetsov, who are both lefties and both have shown that they can play at an NHL level and both have shown that they can play a very specific game at the NHL level. But I almost wonder if you want another guy like that on the right side as well. And so, I kind of poo-pooed the suggestion of Korzak at first when it was suggested to me, but I actually don't know if it's that bad an idea because Vegas also has other pieces that I think you could maybe make a deal around. And I know for a fact, and this is not a secret, that Vegas and Andersson have high mutual interest. So that to me right now, as we move forward, like everybody's mocking up Dallas and Detroit. The only thing is that I know is that Rasmus would love to sign with Vegas and Vegas would love to sign Rasmus. And if you can make a deal that's a first rounder, maybe in a couple of years from now, and a guy like Korzak and a guy like, I don't know, Vegas drafted a guy named Jacob East Wozniak in the second round this year, who has pretty good numbers in the second tier Swedish league. That would be a deal that I'd really consider. And I think it's maybe a little bit more realistic than some of the fan proposals that we're seeing around Detroit or around some other teams out there. The Detroit stuff is interesting to me. I think, obviously we know they want a defenseman. They went hard after Quinn Hughes. They have two very good defensemen on their top pair. And then it's a lot of, I don't know. It's a lot of Ben Sherratts and Justin Halls and just a real mixed bag. And I bet you they would love to get Andersson. It's just, I don't know the interest. I don't know his interest. And so that's why I kind of look at Vegas as a team that, it would be funny if the Flames went to that well again out of necessity almost, and they got yet another defender from Vegas, considering that they already have Pahal and they already have Miramonov technically in their system. But I think they could do a lot worse, especially since Vegas is pretty well equipped on the left. They've got Hannafin and they've got Theodore and they've got McNabb on the left side. On the right, it's a real mixed bag again. They've got Zach Whitecloud and they've got Korzak. And then they've been really playing with it. Like they've been putting a number of different guys in there. So obviously the need is there. They don't have Alex Pietrangelo playing anymore. And I think there is a good shot for Vegas to get Rasmus if the deal is right. So my hope personally is that things start to move along here because Can Trader Inc. saying eyes are playing sits on things like Ronnie Francis. The Flames are sitting on this like crazy. We're up to now 347 days, I think, since the last time they announced a major move. It has been stasis. It has been inertia from the Calgary Flames, which, I guess you don't want them to make bad moves, but by the same token, I have a hard time thinking the value of the players they are looking at moving is that much better today than it would have been 350 days ago. They are in a certain spot with Rasmus where they have benefited a bit by the fact that he is undeniably playing better now than he was a year ago. But even then, a year ago, that's a player who doesn't really have extension at the forefront of his mind. It's not something where you have to work it into a deal. That's what Vancouver was able to benefit from with Quinn Hughes, where he's not even eligible for an extension yet. We're not even talking about a Quinn Hughes extension with the Wild yet. And obviously there are going to be some teams that say, well, we think we can get it done. But if you have that extra year, it just takes the pressure off. It allows you to say, okay, let's win this guy over with what we do this year, and then we'll sign him at the summer. And if that doesn't work, then we have the flexibility of moving him again. So it's a real interesting scenario the Flames have put themselves in. And here we are. 347 days, 18 seconds, or 18 hours, 9 minutes, and 27 seconds since the last time the Calgary Flames made a major player transaction. So hopefully that ends this month, because the last day of the month, that's day 365. So, I mean, who's to say? It could happen. It could not happen. I'm sure it'll happen with Rasmus at some point. The other two guys, Kadri and Coleman, I'm very not sure of. I'm very unsure of. I've been saying for a long time, I think the odds of Kadri getting traded are about 2% or 1%. I don't think it's going to happen this year. And with Coleman going on the IR, I have a hard time thinking that his value is the same, or at least I have a hard time thinking they're benefiting from having not traded him already. I have a hard time teams going out there saying, okay, well, he's on the IR now, even if it's a minor thing where we're going to offer you more. So I don't know. It's something where we've been, it's tough. We've been talking about the same things for 6 months. And at a certain point, it gets kind of weighs on the way that you think about the team. So I think personally, I'd like to see something new. I'd like to see something fresh. I think the Flames are real close to getting there, and hopefully it's done soon. Let's have a look at one of the props that we've put together from Sports Interaction, taking a look at the start of this game, seeing if maybe the Flames will score first, the Blue Jackets will score first, what exactly comes of it. Time of first goal. Will there be a goal scored in the first 9 minutes of today's game? Well, that odd is set at minus 150. And then we have the 9 to 61 at plus 105. No goal at plus 5,000. So if you think this one's going to a shootout or overtime at 0-0, you can put your money on that one. Then who do you think will score first in regulation? Will it be the Flames? Will it be the Blue Jackets? Sort of mirroring the odds of this game. It's the Blue Jackets who are favored in that department of minus 135. And then again, if you don't think there will be a goal scored in regulation time, plus 5,000 looking at there. So interesting little lines there from the good folks over at Sports Interaction. One more time. It is sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. They are a trusted Canadian brand since 1997. Extensive betting options with 100 plus markets per game, including player props, futures, and more. Build your bet with same game parlays with easy deposits and payouts, lightning fast, Interac, e-transfer, and other top payment options. Every game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction. Bet now at sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. Once again, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Shrimp on the Barbie in the chat is not too happy. When you are sitting Hunter Brstevich and healthy scratching Stromgren for older average players, you know that the entire system and roster construction is broken. I mean, I think the Flames just have too many guys, ultimately. I mean, it's not really a problem that can be solved overnight. It is a problem I think they can solve before the trade deadline. I think they have a number of ways to do it. Like the problem is, here's the problem that I see. You're scratching Brstevich for Pahal, and I get it in a certain sense that you're frustrated, and I'm a little frustrated too. By the same token, though, it's not like you're scratching Brstevich for a bad player. Like Pahal's a good player, and Quest sort of hammers on it. It's all the same type of guys. The Flames have good players. Like these are good players who would be very useful on certain NHL teams, and there are teams out there that I think would love to have these guys. The way that I see it, and the thing that I really wonder about is if we are talking enough about the odds of the Flames not just moving one defenseman before the deadline. I wonder about, there's been some chatter about Joel Hanley among, fans and about media about maybe him being a palatable and sought after trade target for certain teams. I almost wonder about Paul. Like, I almost wonder if Paul is a guy who the Flames look to move on from if he's a guy where they say, okay, Braden, we understand you're a good player. We don't have enough of an opportunity for you here now. And, we're going to give you a new chance. Because I think they've just got, again, too many of these same guys where, they've got guys who they're going to be promoting soon. And they have guys who they're already promoting who have taken some of these spots away. I mean, you want Brustevich in the lineup pretty much every game, but Pahal deserves to be in the top 6 somewhere. And there are teams out there with top 6s where Pahal would undeniably be an upgrade over their incumbents. So, I wonder about those sort of bit part players. We haven't seen the Flames sell too many of those guys over the years. They've held on to them, or even gone out and traded for them. But as far as selling, depth guys for maybe middle round picks, lower round picks, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing the Flames say, okay, here's Joel Hanley. He's a good player. He'd be good depth for a team going on a run. What do you want to give us for him? Same with Pahal. So I think that's a move that could happen for the Calgary Flames. I think it's a market they could maybe be players in, looking to find new spots for depth guys going forward. And if it comes down to it, if there are injuries that arise between the trade deadline and the end of the season, well, at that point, you do have guys on the farm. You can just say, okay, we need guys. We got Daniil Miramonov who can play in the NHL if we really need him to, right? So I think there's a possibility of them doing that between now and the March 6th trade deadline, if my date is right. I mean, it's a fascinating time of year. I think, again, and Trip of the Barbie, this is a good one. Can you explain your thoughts on Parekh not playing, or is it simply because Ras is still here? I think I buy it when they say that Parekh is hurt. I buy it when they say he's day to day or whatever, week to week, whatever he is. And I don't dispute that. Like, he looked pretty banged up in that play at the World Juniors. I get it. He played in the bronze medal game, but there's a difference between playing in the bronze medal game and playing against the Blue Jackets on a Tuesday in January, right? You want to have this guy feel comfortable. By the same token, I do think there is an element of, Rasmus is taking the opportunities we'd like to give this guy. And when Rasmus moves, it might just so happen to line up with when Parekh's feeling better. And we want to time that advantageously for us. That might be the Flames thought. But yeah, I don't think there's anything nefarious or anything untoward going on. I just think maybe they're being cautious, which I don't begrudge them for being. So, that's how I'm going to feel about that until I see a reason not to. But it's a good question. It is, and there's going to be lots more questions like that to answer as we move forward. There are guys who the Flames need to promote at some point, and we're already seeing Stromgren, bouncing around a little bit, Brustevich bouncing around a little bit. I think next year is going to be really instructive in that regard. But yeah, now that the Flames are on the verge of coming back home, like I said, they will be back home on the evening of the 15th. I get it. There are folks who are going to say, the whole history of the Flames making deals at home, it's coincidental, it's circumstantial. It is. I don't dispute that either. I'm sure it is coincidental to a degree. But I also think it might be just where they are more comfortable pursuing deals, where they have everybody that, is pursuant to those deals around and in the same environment and able to collaborate on it. And I think once the Flames do get home on that 5-game homestand, I feel like it's a good opportunity for them to make a deal finally, and stop me from having to pull out my counter again and say it's been 347 days. So we'll get to that in due time. For now, the Calgary Flames getting set to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena in Columbus, just past the top of the hour. Once again, my name is Mike Gould, for my producer Michael out in Toronto. Been a lot of fun being with you again on this Tuesday afternoon. This has been another edition of the Sports Interaction sponsored Flames Nation show, The Warmies.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.